Alright, hey, this is Donovan Grant. Welcome back to BRB TV. I'm today with Adair Brockus. Does a lot of fishing right here in Middle Tennessee. But hey, listen, we've got a lot to talk about today, and I'm going to tell you something, man. He knows what it takes to get out there, and you're competing a lot now right here in Middle Tennessee and all over fishing, right? You going to go to Florida and do some fishing?
I am.
All right. That's super cool. Why don't you tell us about a little bit about yourself at Adair and what you do and how people can get in touch with you too if they need some info.
Well, I'm Adair Brockus. I went to JP2 in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and I got started fishing through high school fishing because of Bassmaster High School Series. And nowadays, a lot of kids are getting involved in this sport because, I mean, who doesn't love to go fishing? And
I know I do.
You get out of school, you go fishing, and it's a lot of fun, and get to meet a lot of people that you wouldn't get to meet otherwise. And so my freshman year, we didn't have a bass team at school, and I went up to Mr. Dealey and I talked about my dream. I wanted to fish professionally, and so he helped me out a lot, made it happen. Well, we got
cool.
Started bass team and helped me out with travels and everything. And
so wait a minute. So you started a bass team at your high school.
I did.
It didn't have one, but in fact, a lot of high schools now have bass teams, and it's a big sport and it's a great industry to be in.
For sure. And if your school doesn't have a team, you can start one or start a club. If your school doesn't want to help you with a team, you can fish for a club in high school.
That's pretty cool. And so just one day you just said, hey, I'm going to go talk to the dean and then say, hey, I want to do this. And what was his response, I guess?
Well, at first he was kind of like, didn't know what to say because, I mean, most people don't think of fishing as a sport, and of course it was his first year, and he was kind of willing to let me give it a shot. And after the first year, he realized that we had people coming to the school to fish, and so he helped me out a lot.
That's cool.
And over the 4 years, competed every year in Tennessee, and got to travel a little bit, and now it's turned into fishing the Costa Series and the Bassmaster Opens.
No kidding, man. That's super cool.
Traveling all over, so.
Yeah, that's super cool. So let's talk about being a sport too, because a lot of people. I think this is important to talk about because you just brought it up. A lot of people don't look at fishing or hunting as a sport. It's actually not only a sport but a way of life for a lot of us.
It is.
And so that's kind of what we're talking about, because I know you hunt and you fish and you're getting ready to go on a rabbit hunt and how old are you now?
19.
19. So you just graduated last year. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that sport aspect of it, because a lot of people think you just go fishing. I mean, but you're competing against people that's been doing it that are older than you, that's been doing it a long time. Now they have a lot of knowledge, right? But to get to the level that you're at, just explain to people, what that sport means. Because you're on the lake how many days a week?
3 or 4 days a week at least.
And how many hours do you think that is?
Oh man, depends. 30 or 40 hours a week, and I mean your weekends, 12-hour days are normal. Fishing a tournament, we get a whole week to practice, and 12-hour days are just our thing. And go home or go back to the hotel, sit in your boat, retie, think about what you could do wrong or what you did wrong and what you can do right for the next day, and get up a game plan, go to bed, wake up, do the same thing, and
wow,
over and over until tournament day, and when it all just hits. And
so it's year-round training, year-round, so you have to discipline yourself, right, because of what you do. So there's a lot of conditions that are along with that, long hours, fatigue, being out of the boat.
For sure.
People don't realize how many times you probably flip that, that lure out there, trying to catch a fish. But now you've caught some really big fish too. I mean, I've seen some pictures, and we're going to show some pictures here too. So check out these pictures that he's caught, and what we'll do too is, we're gonna do this quite a bit because you've got so much stuff going on. And I know a lot of people would like to know, like some of your tricks and some of your.
For sure.
I know a lot of people would like to know a lot of your tricks and some of the things that you do. So that's what we're going to do. Have you back in, and I'm sure we'll have some questions that come in too. That want to ask you different things, and then of course, especially about the way you started and how you started it with your school and how other people can get involved too. I think that's a big thing, don't you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, kids, it's like for me, fishing used to be a way to just get my mind straight. And whenever something would happen or I'd be stressed out, I'd go fishing. I always loved to watch the big league guys. They were always something I looked up to, and I mean, I always fished my whole life, and then I always had a dream. And it all starts with a dream, and that's what happened. High school fishing was insane, and then
now you've had a few boats too now, right? So you just got a big boat, and we'll have some video clip of that too. And then I'm gonna get out on the water with you sometime. I like to fish.
Sure.
I'll tell you what I'll do is you'll take me smallmouth or largemouth bass fishing, and maybe we'll do some stripers or whatever. But
that's what I like to hear.
But I'll tell you though, I'm gonna take you snagging. If you've never been snagging, and I don't know if you ever done it.
Never have.
Oh man. Hey, look, when you go snagging, man, and I know it might not be your type of fishing, but I want you to at least experience it. But
I'll go for sure.
But you hook into a 15, 20 pounder in that current, man, I tell you, there ain't nothing like it. But yeah, click on the link below and check out some of the other videos, and check us out, subscribe to our page, and you'll get to see all these cool videos that you're going to have. Man, we're going to have some fishing, some live action fishing going on.
Sure.
And I'm telling you, that's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out too. So maybe you'll see me catch a fish.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, check us out, BRB.TV. All right, so we're going to go on a short break right here, right now, and check out these cool pictures that you got. Man, those are some fine fish right there now.
Thank you.
Check those out. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. Man, there's some fine fish right there now, I'm telling you. Man, hey, did it take you a long time to catch all of them?
A little bit.
It definitely took some work though, didn't it?
For sure. A lot of hours.
A lot of hours doing it. So anyway, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the sports? We started talking about it a little bit, about how the sport works, and just tell us, what did you do? Because I mean, like I said, you've had several boats. And of course, the one you got now is really nice. But tell us kind of what happened, like once you got that club going, because you had to figure all this out for yourself, right? I mean, it wasn't something that somebody just said, hey, here's a script, and this is what you got to do, this, and this. So tell the folks, what did you do there to be able to make this happen?
Okay, so when we started high school fishing, you have a team and a captain. And your captain is kind of like your mentor, your coach. And going into it, I had a buddy of mine, his name was Ethan Elliott. He was my partner for a year and a half. And boat captain-wise, we didn't really have a strong captain or anything. We had a few captains, but none of them were really advanced, I'd say. And some kids nowadays have their fathers, which are pros, captaining them. And actually this year I'm captaining a team from Mount Juliet. And
so what exactly is captaining?
So in high school series, the high school kids are not allowed to drive the boat. So the boat captain has to run the boat, and the high schoolers make all the decisions. The only thing the captain's there for is to run the boat. Because most kids that are, freshman year, you're 15, 16 years old, and you have to have a boating license to run a boat, and most kids don't have that, or they don't have access to a boat. So a boat captain either has a boat, or they use yours and run it, and help you the best they can, but it's not their job to, they're there to coach you, but they're not there to tell you everything, because it's a learning aspect.
Right.
And
well, let me ask you this too, because now once you have somebody that's captaining your boat, now are you free to fish in any tournament or only high school tournaments?
Well, I mean, you can fish in any tournament you want. There just might be some rules. I know most series require you to have one person that's over the age of 18 to fish, and you can have an 8-year-old with you if you want. But all high school tournaments, you have to have a captain. And I mean, just ask around. Most people are willing to captain you if you don't have a boat, and they do. Odds are they're willing to help you out. They might not be able to every weekend, but they'll be able to help you out when they can. And if you have a boat, like I was lucky enough to have, my dad helped me out, first boat, and I was willing to bounce around with captains so I could fish a lot more tournaments. But captain-wise, you don't have to rely on your captain. It's all in the kids. And it's not there to be a living for you. You're there to have fun like any other high school sport. I mean, it's nice to make a couple $100 if you win, but it's there. It's a competition between high schools. It's like bragging rights. It's like a football game. And
so something about that though. So if you win in a tournament in high school, you actually win some money.
You're winning scholarship money for college.
Oh, really? Well, that's super cool. So there's some advantages to getting out there and getting into this profession or this field, sport. And let's say you just did it during high school, then there's a lot of colleges now that have, teams, right?
I believe 75 or 80% of colleges nowadays have a fishing team.
Wow.
And some of them are smaller clubs, and some schools, that's their main sport. Like Bethel University, that's their main sport is fishing, and they just actually won the College Open on Toledo Bend. And
no kidding. That's pretty big.
They're doing awesome. And there's another school, Bryan College in Chattanooga. They're a big fishing school. But I mean, any college nowadays is gonna have access to a club. It's just, I mean, it revolves around your career and what you want to do. And
how many teams the bigger college have like
well,
that? I mean, like Bethel.
I believe Bethel has like probably 20 or 30 boats, but they only send 10 boats to tournaments. So there's club tournaments between them to see who gets to go.
I gotcha.
So I mean, there's smaller schools too that don't have that many, and you're guaranteed to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as big of a. Like I said, the schools that are smaller and just have it as a club, they send everybody. But the schools that are competitive, they send their best guys to everyone because they want to look good.
Now that to me is encouraging. Now if you like fishing, and if you have some young ones that are like going out fishing, I mean, this is something that you really need to pay attention to because scholarships for school, money for college for schools. I mean, that right there is man, and plus. Hey, it's fun getting out on the lake, right?
For sure.
I mean,
It's always a good day, no matter what.
On the lake, that's right. Even if it's raining, it's always good. So that's encouraging information that you're sharing with us too, because I mean, a lot of people I think may know that they see some of these boats running around, but they don't really realize that hey, there's this can actually be something. Hey, if I practice at it and I get great at it. I could be a professional fisherman one day, right?
Sure.
And so the thing about it is, though, it's not like, when you first get out there, and I'm sure some people have better techniques right off the bat, but, you got to work at it, in order to be good at it.
Sure.
And study it, right?
Yeah, don't let it discourage you. I mean, all of us are going to have bad days, no matter what. It happens. And if you let it discourage you, it's just going to bring you down. But if you look at it as a day, I mean, if you go out and don't do too good, it's a day of learning. You just learn what not to do in that situation and take notes, think about it. Tomorrow, go out and do the complete opposite. Might pan out a whole lot different than it did the day before. It's just, when you're young, fishing's all about decisions. And making the right decision at the right time is the main part. I mean, there's multiple ways to catch a fish. But it's how am I going to do it in this situation or in this weather or this water color, this water temperature, anything. It's all about making the right decision.
Now, once you decided you were going to do this and you started looking into it, I'm sure you already had some information. Where did you seek your information to be able to figure out how do I get my high school involved? And I know JP too is great about, you know, wanting to do a lot of different sports and support the students. But what did you have to do? Did you have support from the school to do a lot of that, or did you just do it yourself?
A little bit of both. At first, I was kind of nervous about it because I didn't really know what would happen if he said no, or I don't know what to, you know, I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
It just, I mean.
Did you ask some of the people already at other schools?
Oh, for sure. A lot of help came from friends of mine that went to Mount Juliet. Mount Juliet had, I think, 10 boats on a team, and I had a couple friends of mine that did it, and they were like, "Hey, I think you'd like this." And I was gonna fish on a club, and I said, "Well, let's go talk to school and see if I can make something happen." And from then on, they helped me wrap my boat with school stuff on it. And whenever 8th grade students would come in, I'd bring the boat to school and talk to 8th graders about it. And I mean, like I said, who doesn't like to fish? And these kids that are younger that go fish in ponds all the time, that's a dream of theirs. A lot of kids dream about being able to do it and making money doing it. And it's a reality if you push hard enough.
So you said you took it to some of these other schools, some of these 8th graders. You know, you got to show them, and I would almost say that that probably encouraged a lot of people. What you did, I mean, you know, because a lot of people don't realize that dare you do that kind of thing around here. And not only are you a sportsman, and but you're also somebody that's out there promoting this sport. So right, I mean, you know, if you're taking your boat around, showing it off, I mean, what's some of those 8th graders where they'd say, they ask you, I'm sure they had lots of questions, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's more people coming up and talking to you about it than it is questions. I mean, they'll ask you some questions, but a lot of people are just like, "Man, how do you like doing this? What's it like for you?" Or just you know how kids are. They see something and they want to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's
it's hard for them to think of questions because they're not really thinking about it.
That's right. Yeah. So your first, let's go to that first day on the lakes. That's you know, in being your own team, I guess. Did you struggle a little bit?
I actually got a funny story from the first day. It was actually on Lake Gunnersville, the Bassmaster Southern Open. Put the boat in the water. We were waiting in line to blast off. And I went to go pick up my partner off the bank, and I actually fell in. It was in the middle of December.
A little cold.
It was freezing.
That was your first tournament?
First day ever.
I fell in the water.
Fell in.
Did you give up in? You're like, let's just go home.
It was, from then on, I was a little upset for the first couple hours.
But
we went out and caught them, and I think we placed 80th or something in that tournament. But point is, it was just, like I said, don't let it discourage you. You can fall in the water, you can break a rod, blow your motor. I've had that happen plenty of times. And it's just, don't give up.
That's right.
Ever.
That's right. Yeah.
If you want it, push for it. It'll happen.
That's super cool. That's super cool. And so I guess that first, after that, you said you came in 80th place, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I had 300 boats, so it wasn't too bad for your first time. And I mean, I wasn't expecting that, honestly. We practiced for 3 days. I think we caught 2 fish in practice. And we went and caught a limit, and just something different.
Yeah. But that's cool, though. It's cool that you fell in the water and told us about it.
Man, that was...
your first day.
I was pretty upset.
So when you fell in, did you get right back in the boat pretty fast, I guess?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. What'd your buddy say? I bet he laughed the whole time.
Laughed the whole time.
Yeah.
They didn't want to help me back in the boat, but...
Hey, that's one way to break the ice. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
Especially in this business.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I tell you what, man, you've got so much knowledge here, and you know, I guess some of the other questions I have too is so you did that first tournament, you got excited about it, and then so that was in December. Then your next one. Now, when did y'all start doing a little better, or?
Yeah, for sure. So we started fishing more locally. As actually, I didn't know about it at the time. All I know about was there was 2 a year Bassmaster Opens. And South Central region of Tennessee, we had 8 tournaments a year.
That's a lot.
And
that's good.
I had top 10 in points for 2 years in a row, and just started having a lot of fun doing it, and started getting better. And I mean, when you get better at anything, you start having more fun.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of kids, and some kids are awesome.
Well, let me ask you, because from that first one when you fell in the water, I'm gonna bring that up a lot, but from that first one, and you said you started placing, right? You started doing good, and you had 8 of them a year. So I guess I would say that you did a lot of practicing too, leading up to that, in between those 8. So basically, is it like football where you go out and you gotta say, okay, hey, listen, we're practice 4 days this week and 2 hours a day, or how did you do it?
So for me, I like to go fish whenever the conditions would change. So if the weather's the same for 3 days in a row, you can go catch them doing the same exact thing for 3 days in a row. When you get better is when stuff changes and you can follow them when they change. So for instance, right now, we just had a cold front come through. I went yesterday and it was a little tough, but I changed up however I would whenever the water drops like that. Went offshore and started catching them on a jerkbait. And before that, we were catching them up shallow on a spinnerbait, so 2 completely different things. It's just, you have to be able to change when the weather changes, and that's how you get better. I mean, anybody can catch them doing the same thing every day if it's the same exact conditions. But that's when you get good, is when you can change when they change.
Yeah, that's a big thing. That's and you know, that same thing with hunting. I know you
sure.
hunt a lot too, and you know, I hunt a lot off of moon phases and you know, and weather conditions, and so you know, you just always have to be ready to change, and that's just like you said. I mean, it's hand in hand in both those sports.
Yeah.
You know, they act a lot on the same. Feeding times are very important as well. But all right, so when you're learning how to change it up and where you're going, do you have a certain lake that you prefer? And I mean, I know you're not going to tell me like where you go fishing exactly and give me GPS coordinates.
Well, in Tennessee, we have pretty much 2 different types of lakes. We have shallow lakes, and we have deeper lakes that are clean. So like my home lake's Old Hickory, and other home lake is Percy Priest, and they're completely different lakes. So what I relate to is whenever I'm fishing Old Hickory, I'm practicing fishing a shallow fishery. So whenever you go down to Florida, it's going to be all shallow, or down south pretty much anywhere, it's going to be all shallow lakes. So if I have a shallow tournament coming up, I'll practice on Old Hickory because I'll kind of get a glimpse at what's going on shallow. But whenever we have a deeper tournament coming up, I'll go to Priest, or a lot of times I'll make the drive down to Smith Lake, Alabama. It's a 2-hour drive, spotted bass lake, really deep, really clear. And so that lake relates to a lot of highland reservoirs, and fishing a highland reservoir is pretty much the same across the whole country, whether in California, Tennessee, Alabama, wherever you are. It pretty much all relates. It's just how that lake changes when the water does this. And these lakes will all cooperate with the same, just might be a different time of year, but they'll all do the same thing eventually. Like Old Hickory, that water can change like that. And when that water changes, they might come up real close to the bank, they might get offshore, and you just have to figure out what they're doing, and that relates to other lakes.
So talking about those 2 lakes there, that you know, both those being your home lakes. Now, most of your tournaments in high school, were they all pretty local here?
Yeah, the Tennessee region, it was all on Priest, Old Hickory, Nickajack, Timms Ford, pretty much anything that was within 2 hours. They didn't want to go out of the state, and they didn't want to go more than 2 hours. So the tournaments, they'd be held on larger lakes, because high school tournaments, there's usually between 200 and 300 boats tournament. So they can't really do it on smaller lakes. And
well, that, you know, a lot of those are not that far away. So,
no,
I mean,
for sure. So I mean, you have school, but they let you out of school for a day or 2 depending on your school. Like I was lucky enough to get a day off before every tournament, so I'd get the Friday to practice. And a lot of times I'd go down the week before and practice as well. It's just what you're comfortable doing, and don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone. Because I know a lot of us, I love to fish shallow, but this past year I've been trying to get out deep more and figure it out better, because this year I got a lot of tournaments that's going to be 1 out deep, and without that it's going to be just an advantage that they're going to have over you. So you got to be able to change and be versatile.
Yeah, and so change and being versatile, you know, one thing you did say was, that you had to take off that day before to go practice, and so I'll touch on a couple of things there too, because if people don't know it, before a tournament, they like to go out and they like to practice, and they like to basically just helping to get an advantage. If you're not able to go and practice the day before, then it puts you at a disadvantage because everybody else is, and they're trying to find on a lake, and especially a lake you haven't been to.
Oh, for sure.
You want to figure out where those little honey holes,
especially going to anything on Tennessee River or any larger lakes. If you go to Chickamauga, let's say, first tournament, never been there before, it's going to overwhelm you for sure. It all looks the same, and it's just huge, and it'll mess with you. So I mean, nowadays with electronics and everything, we might spend 2 or 3 days without even touching a rod, just graphing, and might have a day to just go by and make a cast in there, catch one, see what it's like. If it's a little one, pass over it. If it's a decent fish, we'll mark it and come back to it during the tournament. But in practice, you want to just cover water. And if you don't cover a lot of water in practice on a bigger lake, you're going to get beat. On the smaller lakes, you can slow down. And
so you're not really fishing them a lot of times in practice. You're just kind of going out.
You're pretty much looking. You're getting a look at the lake, and depending how much time you have to practice, don't get me wrong, if you have 1 day to practice, you're going to fish. But when we get a week to practice, so I'm going to spend 2 or 3 days just running around looking.
Yeah.
And high school tournaments, you get a day, go fish, and go cover a lot of water. And if you do that, you'll be successful, and you come across something eventually. And if you don't, do something completely different tournament day, and you might just come across something.
So that too, being practicing. So we're thinking about the color of the water, color of the bait, temperatures, weather conditions. I mean, all those things from a front moving through the day before can also change, or high winds and turbulent waters. I mean, those all play big factors in that. So but that's a big deal, and that the school would look at that and say, yeah, that's what it is. So what are some other things that you found doing your high school thing that was a little bit different, I guess, in the sport?
So don't be afraid to talk to anybody. I mean, if you can, word of mouth is everything. And so actually what got me real started where I am now is during high school, there was it's called the COSA series, FOW COSA series, which is now just the FOW series. And you can be a co-angler. And I always wanted to do it. And 2 years ago, I actually got the chance to do it on Lake Okeechobee, and was the youngest angler there to make a check. And after that,
that's cool.
I wanted to fish on the pro side, and I worked for a year to be able to afford to do it, because it's not cheap to start, but once you get your foot in the door and you have some people behind you, anything's possible. And so actually on February 27th is the first one. I'm fishing Chickamauga on the pro side. And
that's big, man. That's super cool.
Season gets started in a month, so I'm excited.
Oh yeah. So man, we're gonna have to get some good video of you out there too. Now you got a few sponsors now too. So a little bit about that too. So you got out of high school, decide you're going in the pro series, right? Which is a big step, because the competition in that
it's very different,
and a lot harder. And of course, where you're at is great, because you're the guy coming in proving things, right? So I know you've been to a boat show already this year, and they got this big fishing tournament coming up. And so you do have some sponsors too now. Who do you have as sponsors?
My title sponsor for the year is Hughesby Homes, and they are a contractor home builder out in Nashville. They do anything commercial, residential. And my dad is a huge sponsor, Stonecraft.
That's awesome.
Does anything with limestone you can think of. Then fishing related, I'm with Titan Tungsten, and Power Pole's helping out. Just
that's some good sponsors right there, right off the bat.
For sure.
And, that's going into obviously, you start winning some tournaments, and those things, those sponsors go up as well, right?
Sure.
But just be able to start off though with having 3 or 4 sponsors is a good start. Really good start. So anyways, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna let y'all take a look at a few more of these pictures we got here, and some really fine fish. And we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk to Adair some more. And but check it out. Subscribe. BRB.TV. Welcome back, BRB.TV. Hey, check us out, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to our page and watch some more of our cool videos and some great tips from a lot of pros here locally in Middle Tennessee and from all around, really. But so there, we're on that little break there. We had a chance to talk a little bit, and I think you brought in some fishing poles here.
I did.
And some setups here, and let's just kind of look through these here and kind of explain what you got here. Now, that's a nice looking pole here.
Alright, so this is the Ducket Silverado, the Lose Team Light, and got a Strike King jerkbait on it from yesterday. And running 10-pound fluorocarbon on it, of course, and
that's good looking. Now, how long is that rod there?
6'10" medium.
6'10" medium.
I'm a shorter guy, so I have to throw a short rod with a jerkbait, so I'm not slapping the water with it. I know a lot of guys that will throw a 7-foot medium, or some that even throw a 6'6" medium. I'm just comfortable with the 6'10" because it's perfect length for me.
Now that terminology on poles, explain that a little bit, because I mean I'm not I guess give us some ideas when you're looking at fishing poles, what you're looking at and why you're looking at.
So it's all technically related. If you're looking to buy just one rod, look at what you're going to do with it. If you're going to go fish a pond or just mess around in a creek, you don't need to have a bunch of crazy stuff. You can get away with a 7-foot medium heavy or a 6'10" medium heavy. But when it comes to fishing tournaments, you need to have multiple setups, or you're not going to just... It matters. I couldn't go fish a jig on this rod. I'd break my rod setting the hook, or I'd break my line setting the hook, or anything. But you just have to look at how you're going to fish. So say you're going to fish a pond and you're only going to fish one bait. What's that bait going to be, and what do you feel comfortable with? If you feel comfortable throwing a Senko or chatterbait, grab a 7-foot medium heavy. I'd grab a Ducket for sure, and put a Lose on it and go to work. And
So the rod makes a lot of difference on your height and how you set your hook. Also, what you're fishing for. So I think that's very, very important, especially now. I know I was looking at your boat and you had a bunch of rods in there. I mean, you had like probably 6 or 7 or more in there, just on that one side, right?
Yeah.
I may have more on the other side, but so once you get yourself set, you just grab the rods and you're not necessarily changing your.
So it's all about time and, like I said, making decisions. So come tournament day, I'll usually have 10 or 12 rods on the deck, and the law will be completely different. Unless I'm just absolutely on them and I know what I'm going to catch them on, then I might have 2 or 3 out. But that shows if you're a little confused, you'll have a ton of rods on the deck. I know some guys, like Brian Thrift, for instance, he'll have 20 rods on the deck and he will go beat everybody with 1 rod, and you'll have 19 out there that he won't even touch. So your rod choices, it's all about how you fish and how you feel. And there's so many different rods nowadays that it doesn't really matter that much. It matters more on how you're going to fish with that rod and what you're going to throw on it. Like this rod right here, I can throw a square bill on it. I can throw a jerkbait on it. I can throw a little swim bait on it. But as soon as I put a Texas rig on it or a jig on it, that rod's not going to handle it. I won't catch the fish. I won't be able to put a hook on. And that's when you grab a heavier rod, like a 7.3 or 7.6 heavy, or, I mean, you don't need to go any heavier than a heavy rod on a jig or anything. Only time I'll grab an extra heavy rod is if I'm throwing a frog, throw a frog on a 7-foot extra heavy, or if I'm punching, I'll punch with a 7-11 extra heavy, duck it also.
When you say punching, kind of explain that terminology, punching.
So punching mats is going to be a Tennessee River or a South Florida kind of thing. Punching mats is when the grass is matted up on top of the water, and they'll actually sit up under it like they're under a canopy.
Oh, wow.
And you need to punch through there with a heavy weight and a big hook, and you need to set the hook on them to get them out. And you can't do that with just any average rod. You'll break your rod, or you won't catch fish at all.
I see. Yeah, that's a lot of information that you're giving us there too on rods. And I tell you what, there's a whole lot to it, a whole lot of different things. But it's not something that you just started off with and said, "Hey, man, I need 12 different rods."
No, you don't need 12 rods to go fishing. You can get away with a rod or two. It's just fish smart. If you're gonna pick one rod to have, you can only afford one, or you only need one, grab a 7.3 or 7-foot or 7.3 medium heavy. It works fine.
And what is your go-to setup, I guess? What is your favorite? Because everybody has their favorite, right?
I like to set the hook. If I had to pick a rod right now, I'd probably grab a 7.6 heavy and just go to work flipping a jig.
I got you. So, and what about colors? I mean, like today it's overcast, kind of chilly out.
Your colors, you can keep it simple. There's so many colors nowadays that it'll overwhelm you. And the two colors that I would, if I was just having to go fishing right now and I could only bring two colors with me, I'd grab a green pumpkin or a black and blue. Everybody knows those are the two colors. You can adjust them to how the conditions are, or throw a little purple glitter in there, or whatever you feel comfortable with. It's all about confidence. Whether you like to dye the tails on your bait, chartreuse, it's just what you're comfortable with. And you don't need to go buy 100 different colors of the same thing, because it might not really matter that day. And some ponds, the bait never changes. Throughout the year, it's a bluegill. So a green pumpkin with a little purple in it will always work. Now on a lake, for instance, they could be eating shad, they could be eating bluegill, they could be eating crawfish. Bluegill, green pumpkin, shad will always be a white or a chartreuse, something along those lines, depending on time of year. And crawfish, just depends on the temperature. So I know in the spring the crawfish are really red, and that's why I got a red rattle trap tied on this rod from yesterday. And rattle trap, it's starting to be a player. In the spring, a rattle trap's a key bait, and that's a 6 cents, half ounce, and it's an awesome bait. I got it on a little guy.
So is it a deep diver?
No, rattle trap sinks however you want it to.
Oh, really?
So I fish it between 3 and 5 foot, and you want it to be going through grass or around wood. And I'm throwing it on a 7-foot medium heavy right there, and I believe I got 15-pound P line on it, and caught a couple on it yesterday. But it's about to start being a big player. And
so when you say being a big player, that means they're getting ready to start really.
They're getting ready to start eating that, because springtime crawfish will be really red, and that bait, you can see it is. It's red.
Mm-hmm.
And they can track it a long ways. It's really loud. And
so part of that is when you're fishing, you're also in your season. Like I said, it's fixing to get hot. So the thing about it is depending on what they're feeding on that time of year. Because
it changes.
Yeah, so you might be late in the season, might be insects, right, or top water, right, or it might be early in the season, be crawdads or So it's very interesting, all the different things that you do, and man, I'm excited about you. I'm excited about you and what you're doing this year. That's super cool. The rigs are super cool, and I know you've got a lot more to that you're going to share with us as we go through this. So make sure that y'all like, subscribe to our page, and just check out more of our videos. We've got tons of them already, but we're going to have a whole lot more of the dare here this year. So you have a lot of sponsors too, and so why don't you tell us a little bit about those sponsors, and now who are all your sponsors? Because I know you just started, so you've got a few, but I know you want to give them some kudos too. So
once again, I want to thank Hughesby Homes, my tile sponsor for the year. My father at Stonecraft Fabricators, helping a lot. Titan Tungsten, I'm running a Falcon this year. I'm very excited about it. I'm in a 205, running the Yamaha, and I'm stoked about it. Glad to be using loser reels and throwing a ducket around, and it's gonna be a fun year.
Very cool, very cool. I'll tell you what, man, you know, it really helps out sponsors because you have a lot of expenses that go into what you do, and you know, travel, and you know, yeah, it's great to win some tournaments because then it'll get you some money in there, but it also helps to have some good supporting sponsors as well. So, so anyway, maybe we'll get Bagger Buck involved in there somehow too.
I'm all about it.
Yeah, that's right. So I know we're definitely gonna do with some hydrographics on your boat. So
Excited about that.
that'd be super cool. And man, we just look forward to seeing you do great things, man. So anyway,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
yes, sir. Thank you.